Hi, I'm Mr. Sonic Nevitz, and this is a series of videos that I'm trying to start called Recent Reads, where I'm going to go through my collection and basically when I finish, a book or something, I want to talk about it a bit. These will be like really informal, not much of a review because I don't think that helps in terms of, really expressing what I like and dislike about something. And so the first book I decided to talk about, and I just finished, is this new Teen Titans Omnibus Volume 1. It's the stuff right before Crisis on Infinite... It's the stuff right before Crisis on Infinite Earths. It starts in 1980. It's Marv Wolfman and George Perez. Marv Wolfman writes, George Perez draws, but they created these characters together. Not the OG like Robin and Kid Flash and Wonder Girl, but like Raven, Beast Boy, or not even Beast Boy, sorry, Raven, Cyborg, and Starfire. So I'm a fan of the TV show from I think it's 2003 that featured a lot of these characters, and I've always liked the Teen Titans. I'm a big fan of the Jeff Johns run from the same year, about 2003, because I think is when he took over, or I rebooted it. I mean, he started a new number one. When I found out they were doing these, I got them, and so I just finished reading this first one, and it's really cool to see how these characters were adapted later, especially for that TV show, and just see like how they started and how much the show didn't actually change all that much from how they are. Some stuff was toned down, some stuff was exaggerated. But for the most part, it actually pretty holds true for a lot of these characters. I think, funny enough, the one that's off enough in the show is Robin. He's much more toned. He's not nearly as like leader as he is in the show. At least in this first volume, he's not. Because again, this is stuff before Crisis, so it's still like the end of the Bronze Age, not quite the modern age yet. But the stuff I like about comic books is in here, I've also read, as just a side, I've read the Silver and Bronze Age Omnis of the Teen Titans, just as like I wanted to see what it was like. They're like over there somewhere. I'm probably gonna sell them or give them away or something, because while it's cool history-wise to see it, that's not my thing. Like, especially the Silver Age, those were like designed as like one-off issues every time. There's no like through storyline, so it's really hard to enjoy those. Like I enjoy them for like the sake of it. Like, oh, it's cool to see some of the villains. I think like Mad Mod is in there. There's like Mr. Twister. If you've seen Young Justice, he's in there. So that was cool to see like their first appearances and stuff. But other than that, and then the Bronze Age were really picked up though. The Bronze Age Omnibus, they introduced more team members. They had Titans. I think it was Titans West at the time was in there. It might have been Titans East, but I'm pretty sure it was Titans West. So they had like Bumblebee and like I think Mal was in there, who's like, if you've seen Young Justice, he's like the Guardian. Who else was there? But yeah, it was really cool to see those initial like issues, just to see where it came from. But this is like the culmination of it. Like the introductory issue from DC Comics Presents, I think it's number 26, where Perez and Wolfman like do their initial idea for it. It's great. It's like great setup issue. It's like a little mystery thing, but like the team's brought together and it's awesome. They mesh really well. And then of course like stuff happens like really fast in this. Like I think Deathstroke is introduced in like issue 2, because this Omni has issues I think 1 through 20, and then like the 4 issue special like Tales of the Teen Titans. So like each issue, I think it's Cyborg, Starfire, Beast Boy, and then Raven is like it's like their stuff before they formed the team, like what happened. Those issues are fantastic. Like that's the highlight of this book, is those last 4 issues are great. That's like when I think Perez and Wolfman like really get these characters, and it's awesome to read. And other stuff is introduced. Like I think they had Hive is introduced, of course, if you've seen the show. Hive is like way more hardcore in this than they are in the TV show, which I think is it's really cool to see kind of that difference, Because in the show, I think they're just like the school, whereas here they're like a cult, and like if you mess up, they kill you. It was, I mean, some of this still does have like that. I don't know if it's a Wolfman thing. I know Claremont does it, where they kind of like describe a lot of stuff that's already happening, which is also just a staple of like comics at the time, which is cool, but it's also like, it's a visual medium. I can see what they're doing. You don't need to describe everything for me. But then you go off the other end, where comics like don't explain anything, and you're like, okay, cool, but I need something, But yeah, what really helps this is the pacing. The pacing in it is great. The first issue, the team is formed. After that, boom, Deathstroke's there, and then Hive is introduced after that, and then stuff just keeps happening and happening, and they go back to Paradise Island with the Amazons after that, and then after that, there's a thing with like the gods that's built off of what happened to Paradise Island, and then after that again, after that again, there's this whole thing with like some remnants of the Doom Patrol, and it's really entertaining, and then like it ramps up, and then the 4-issue miniseries like cools down. And it's like, okay, here's a recap, not a recap, but here's like about all these characters, because I mean, you already know Robin and Kid Flash and Wonder Girl by this point, so it's really cool to see the background on the other 4. I am sad, though, as like a fan of the initial team, Aqualad and Speedy aren't in here very much. I mean, they're not even on the cover. Their whole thing was like, they are introduced again to like the new cast, but they're like, oh, we're going to be temporary team members. We got our own thing. And I'm like, nah, respect. But it was cool to see them anyways. And if you are a fan of the series, the 2003 series, I would give this a shot. It is, again, you will have to get kind of used to the dialogue of the time. It is kind of not overly wordy, but like characters will talk to themselves a lot about like, it's like, oh man, I gotta jump out of the way, and then so they jump out of the way, and it's like, okay, you were already drawing him jumping out of the way. You don't need to describe him that he's going to do it. But I mean, that's just a comic book thing of the time. They really stopped that later. But yeah, and even then, you don't even have to get it in this omnibus format. I think they have trade paperbacks. I think it's up to like volume like 13 or something that goes like halfway through the 4th omnibus. So that's it's another way if you want to read it. But for real, I'd maybe just give the first trade a try and see what you like. But this, I had a great time reading this. Like, it's just so cool to like, because I've already liked the characters, but just to see how they started and where they've come from. Again, with the background with like the Silver and Bronze Age Omnis that I read, to see like how they just take them from like these one-note sidekicks. Because honestly, that's what they do in the Silver Age. They're straight up, all their problems are like, a teenager needs help. Who helps them? The Teen Titans. And I'm like, okay. And in the Bronze Age, they kind of remedy that a little bit, but this is where they're like straight up, okay, these are actual characters. They're not just copies of the adult heroes, which is what sidekicks were. Just half-sized Batman. But yeah, and what's really cool, there's even an introductory, like, what is it called? Like, not a letter or a message, but it's Wolfman talking about what he thought about when he was creating the Teen Titans, and how he didn't like that all the teenage superheroes, when he was a kid, were like super like cardboard. They didn't do anything. They were just like foils for the main hero. So he wanted to make them like their own people, and that's what he did, and it's awesome. And then of course seeing like there's a difference though if you are a fan of the show. So Beast Boy and Cyborg are pretty on point. Starfire and Raven are much different. Like, Raven's still kind of standoffish, but she's not like a goth. Like, that wasn't even a thing at the time. So like, she's not like that at all. And I actually like that more than the TV show. Like, she's not unnecessarily like a like rude like she is in the show. And here, like, it makes sense why she's that way. Like, she's not rude, but she's like really soft-spoken and shy. And then Starfire is like way, I mean, in the show they make her kind of like bubbly and outgoing and stuff. In here she's just super blunt, which is like kind of different. Also, she's way more powerful in here. Like that's what all of them are way more powerful in here than they are in the show. Because whenever you adapt something, you have to depower them for some reason. I don't know why. Also, like, what's really cool. So Starfire's whole thing, like her name comes from her star bolts. That's why they call her Starfire. In this, they're red and orange, like they're fire. And in the show, they make them green, I guess to match her eyes. But like her eyes don't glow; they're just green. You know, in the show they glow, and she has like the white, you know, and then the iris is green. Whereas this, no, her eyes are fully green. There's no glowing. Like her hair lights on fire when she flies, which is really awesome. Which I think you can kind of, you can kind of see back here, like the trail is her hair lighting on fire. And then Raven doesn't do like the chant. There's no like, what does she say in the show? Azarath, Metreon, Zinthos, or something like that. She doesn't do that. Her straight up thing is like super empath powers, like feeling the emotions of others. That's like her power. And then she has like her soul self, which is like the little smoke here. That thing is in the show, you know, like the little shadow she like does. So that thing's there. It really does make me disappointed that they didn't, like, when they did the whole Teen Titans thing, the only one they kept was Robin, because Kid Flash is awesome and Wonder Girl's also awesome. I guess they didn't want like the redundant power sets, I guess, because like Starfire and Wonder Girl are pretty similar, like power-wise. And then I guess they just didn't want Kid Flash because people are really bad with super speed characters and what to do with them. Kid Flash is awesome in this, though. Like, Wally's one of my favorite characters in this. He's just awesome. If I had to like pick what I didn't like, it's more so not that I didn't like it, but it's I understand. I have a real big issue with coloring of older comics, not because like they couldn't do better. That's the whole point. Is like they're limited by the technology of the time. They worked with like 4 colors. You know, it wasn't until like the 90s that they really were able to mess around with colors and make stuff awesome. You know, so I mean that's what they worked with, and that's where recolors really look weird. I mean, this isn't recolored. I mean, maybe the cover is a little bit, but like the insides aren't. But that's where recolors can be really off-putting, because the pencils and inks were designed for the original colors, and when you recolor them, you're not working with the intention of those original 2 people. You know, you're like doing something else. Because like all 3 work together to make the image back then. You know, if you just recolor, it's like, well, you have to redraw the whole thing because you're working with a completely different palette. You know, but that's really my only knock on this, is the colors can be a little eh. I mean, that's just, again, stable all the time. I don't let it bother me too much, and the content is so good that again, I don't really care. But for real, if you enjoy the Teen Titans, if you like the 2003 show, if you just want to know more, you know, like their origin, and this is straight up like the OG team, Teen Titans on the new Teen Titans Omnibus Volume 1, and I just started the second one. I'll probably have thoughts about that too, but yeah, it's off to a bang in that one. It's really cool, but yeah, I recommend this, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And this is like my first time with this, so thanks for watching.